and it's really coming down to, yeah, I do think there's a lot of um, good things that can, help us grow the company, even just by um, how you present yourself, instead of just putting a mass, mailer out there that, on social media that, makes you sound stupid, or, how you present yourself. So that's, I mean, there's so many things that I'm sure it could help us with.
All righty. Hey, Chris, how are you? Welcome to the next episode of the service call. How are you?
Great, great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man. We're excited to have you on today. Like we talked before, kind of, you've seen a little bit of the podcast. Our goal today is just to understand your business a little bit and get to know the industry, talk a little bit about technology. We're excited to chat. Should be about 30 minutes, and then we can get going. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, well, walk us through it. Introduce us to, or introduce yourself to us and to our listeners, and a little bit about your business.
So my name's Chris Wilson, a co-owner of the Mudjackers Basement Solutions. I've been doing this my whole life. Grew up doing this, so just kind of a natural fit. My father bought it in '72 from a gentleman he worked for that had passed away. So back in the like '91, I started working for him when I graduated. Kind of worked my way through things. I did sales, I was in the crews, and mostly we did back then just did, concrete raising and stuff like that, where I started seeing a need for lifting buildings and stuff like that. We got a little bit into it with we had at the time for mudjacking, but it wasn't very successful because you were dealing with the same ground that was sinking. And so you were just kind of lifting up the building, and then eventually it probably would go back down.
Sure.
Um, so I got us into doing piling work.
Mm,
And so we do a lot of homes that settle, some new construction as well. But there's two different types we do. One is a push pile, which uses the building as a counterweight, and we'll drive the piling into the ground using a hydraulic ram that's hooked to the side of the building. The other one we do mostly is a helical, which is like a torqued pile. It kind of looks like an auger. Sometimes can have different configurations of flights depending on soils. And we have engineers that will go out and design where these piles would have to go depending on, if it's a new construction or if it's a home that has considerable settlement. So they'll go out, design where these piles have to go, and then we go in and we excavate out the foundation walls, cut the footings. We'll drive these piles into the ground, and they'll go anywhere from 20 to we've had them go 100 feet in the ground. Um,
crazy.
so I mean, all the kind of soils. Once they're in, then we have a bracket that will we build that spins underneath the foundation wall of the home. Then big hydraulic rams that we hook to each one of them, and we can actually very gently walk the footings and everything back up to where they originally were. So
Interesting.
it's
That's a cool process. I had no idea it was that in depth and um, that complex. That's really impressive that you've been able to get into that part of the business.
It it gets hard, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, but I've taught my guys and what to look for, and
Sure.
um, I'm still out there with them sometimes, just because they run into issues, and I mean, I've been doing it for 30 years, so
Yeah. That was going to be a question of mine, right? And a big part of what we do at the service call is we highlight home service leaders like yourself and who are really adapting and innovating in their business and what they're offering to their customers, but also how they're finding better ways to grow. And a big thing that we talk to a lot of people about is I'm still on the jobs, right? And I'm curious for you, it sounds like you are still on the jobs sometimes. Is that continue to be your goal? Do you still want to continue to work with your teams on the job site, or are you wanting to get to a point where you're really in the office building the business?
I guess it's a yes and no. I do like to be in the office trying to get everything to grow, but I also see a need for myself to be out in the field as well. Um, yeah, my guys, there's certain times that the customer even wants me there, just to kind of, I'm the one that sold them the project, so me showing up and
Yeah.
making sure everything is going right. But my foremans are great. I mean, they've been with me 20 plus years, so they're not just anybody from off the street. Uh, but I like being out there. Most of the time when I end up on the job site, it might be filling in for a foreman that was either on vacation or sick and just keeping things going. The
Yep.
hardest thing we find is, guys that want to do this. That I think is our biggest struggle right now. So,
Sure. We've seen that a lot actually, and it's about, finding the right people, the right team. It sounds like you have a really loyal employee base, which is fantastic. It's interesting, variety of different founders. When I ask that question, we get a lot of different answers. Some are saying, I don't want to be on the job site, I don't want to be servicing the customer, I just want to be growing the business. Some love the job so much, but so they want to be on site, they want to be selling their customers, but they still have a lot to do at the office, right? So it's difficult to balance those two parts of the business, and so that's where kind of my next question comes is really around technology, right? Obviously, every home service company has hits plateaus or they grow really quickly and then it slows down. Market trends can do that, but I'm curious, when you look at your day to day, where are you using technology within your business, and where are you using it the most?
um, so
Outside of
that
equipment,
is,
outside of equipment,
yeah,
more like,
yeah.
yeah,
So
more
I,
like you.
yeah, I would say that's probably one of my biggest struggles is just getting, um, up to speed on that. I'm starting to do more, um, trying to integrate like AI into some of the stuff I do. Even like our estimating software that's made a big impact on uh, our job costing and stuff like that, where
Hmm.
we used to be able to, everything was just handwritten,
Yeah.
um, and now for our estimating, we go in and we'll do like an AR scan of the foundation, and it literally lays it out for us, and then we can start building what we needed to for products and stuff like that. So there's a lot, every year there's something new, and trying to keep on top of that, that's always hard. The advertising aspect of it, that's my goal this year, is to get more knowledge on like AI and how to use it for um, posts, social media advertising, all that. And it's
Yep.
not the easiest. So,
Yeah, it's no, that's super helpful, and it makes sense. You are very good at what you do and what you provide your customers. There's just this gap that we've seen, and this is industry wide, right?
mhm.
Where we have so many ways that we need to reach our customers now. Customers have changed a lot, and how they get information and how they choose businesses they want to work with. Whether it's reviews, whether it's social media, whether it's no longer just kind of word of mouth or posters on a park bench anymore. It's amazing how we can go and we can attract new customers. And that's one question that I was going to ask is, when you think about growing, is it all about just more jobs to bid? Is it getting traffic to your website? Is it finding the right type of customer? Or are you at the point where you need to be more efficient? You have too many jobs. We need to be more operationally efficient. Where are you currently at in your growth phase?
I would say for us, it's trying to target the right customers, for certain parts of our business. Other parts, trying to be as efficient as possible, is another thing. I, our our advertising, we've had to really switch how things are done, because of, you don't have people going to the, yellow pages anymore.
Right.
So where do you spend your dollars? Where do you, you know your advertising, a lot of times for us, it's like, okay, is social media better, or is it more online advertisements? Is it YouTube, or is it, and that, where I I lean on the company I work with that I know really well, that does a lot of our advertising and stuff like that. And even like the AI generated ads that I'm trying to do right now for Facebook, or I'm just learning that and how it'll
Yeah,
save me time, but I got to learn how to use the AI before I can save myself time. So
sure. No, it makes sense. So it sounds like are you working with a marketing agency currently today?
yeah, yeah. So
Right.
there's one which, and they're really good. I kind of know them personally, so we were working with like a nationwide firm that we were just paying a ton of money to, and you know weren't really getting much results from it. I mean, I would be spending a ton of money, and they would never, my phones weren't ringing.
Right.
And so, we've been able to capture a lot more audience for, less money. But the other part is they know our industry. He actually used to be part of that industry. And so, there's times that he'll text me, "Oh, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow, so I'm going to change your advertising to this, and we're going to put
Yeah,
more money," and which is
sure.
cool because not a lot of places will do that. So,
Yeah, it's more personalized. It feels more closer to you and what you need. I love that.
right.
I love that. We have so many customers that if they don't have an agency arm, there's a lot of things that AI can do for you and automate, but a lot of times, having an agency partner that can help you with your advertising is fantastic. That's great. I'm curious, looking at your day to day, right, where you're balancing in office, you're balancing job site. What processes for you to, as you're running your business, feel way too manual or time consuming today?
I would say a lot of the um our sales for like our raising concrete and stuff like that. That's one hard that we got to try to keep up with. Because we had salespeople, we got rid of them. Well, we had one that, and then basically he left to do something else, and then we just never hired another guy. Just because with what we do, it's unless you've been in the field, there's a lot of mistakes that are made. People will bid projects that shouldn't be even, attempted. And
Sure.
so, we've had, back in, even though you can try to teach your guys as much as possible, it when we started having more salespeople, then we had more mistakes. It was costing us more money. Trying to, teach them, certain things to look for. Even then, it still didn't work. So, I mean, we're at that stage where we want to grow. And, that's probably something that's inevitable that we're going to have to get, salespeople
Sure.
in here, and how to train them correctly so that way they know what to look for and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy task.
No, it's interesting you said that. I was talking to an owner of a handyman business the other day, and they're growing like crazy. They have so many jobs, right? They're turning down jobs, but they don't have the right handyman. They can't find the right employees, right, that are willing to show up to the job, that are trained, that can deliver. And so that's a challenge, right? And a lot of businesses are, labor costs are expensive, but if you have the right technicians or if you have the right guys, we can go and we can grow our business. We can trust that we can go and do more jobs, right? And so, that sounds like it's a common struggle in the space right now.
Yeah, and I
Because
mean
you,
with what we do, I mean, and like um, from our, raising a concrete to our foundation repair with waterproofing, we are getting into more carbon fiber repair on buildings, and so it's a lot of technical. It's not as much just grunt work. So, I could, if I was just doing like basement drain tile stuff, that's something I could teach a guy in about a week how to, be a foreman, but we're doing more structural repair.
mm,
So you really got to know what you're doing, or, that's a big expense that we're going to eat later on when it's, they find out that it wasn't done correctly. So
yeah.
we're trying to find the guys. That's the hard part, trying to find the guys that, are willing to learn and you can teach them.
I'm curious too with your business, and this is something we talked last week to another customer in commercial HVAC, is they have these big, more strategic technical jobs that they do, right? But then they supplement those big jobs with more residential HVAC service appointments, right? And so you mentioned kind of the simple put the foreman on the job type of job that you could go and do more of while you work on some of these bigger, more technical, opportunities. Is that something you're looking to balance within your business, or are you going all in on this more complex structural type of work?
Um, I guess I go back and forth on that. I know a lot of other companies. I'm actually the president of the Association for Foundation Repair for the state of Wisconsin, and
Oh, wow.
I know a lot of the guys from other businesses that do mostly like that stuff, and they're always trying to find more employees, trying to they have to cut their costs because they mostly get like I would say more real estate transaction jobs that have to be done very fast. They're looking for the cheapest price. And so I've kind of distanced myself from being the cheap guy. I'd rather be the guy that's the quality guy.
Got it.
Um, so that's where our market, I think, is, if you want, quality, well, then I'm your guy. But if you want cheap, I'm not your guy. So,
I love it. I love it. And it's interesting, right? When we think about customers now and homeowners or, business owners, our expectations have changed quite a bit, right? And I talk about this all the time of, you know, brands like Amazon or Netflix, DoorDash. We have what we want, or we get what we want very quickly, and we expect it to be pretty inexpensive. But what we've missed is we want quality still, and businesses that are willing to offer quality and quality service and a human touch outside of just technology really are successful. And I really love that you're leaning into that, and a lot of successful businesses that we talk to are doing the same thing. Is you can go with a cheaper option. We're going to provide you with a very quality experience and a quality product. I love that messaging. It's just how can now you at the Mudjackers differentiate yourselves that way? How can your brand be broadcast to your area and to your customer base that you are the place to go for quality, right? That can be a challenge.
it can. I think one of the things that's really helped us get a little closer to that is just being out in the public more. Being part of these associations, getting to know the other companies because they don't do those certain things. So there's a lot of networking that I'm trying to do with other companies that, they end up in these positions and they're not qualified or have the equipment to do these types of projects. So they call us and we refer them, they refer us, and it becomes more of a network instead of everybody trying to, beat each other out on a job. So
I love it. So there's little segments of your community that you're kind of placing yourself in. That's cool. I
yeah.
love it. I think that's a really cool story, and I think it's a good vision. It sounds like, you're in a pretty awesome place to grow. And we've talked a little bit about how kind of your origin story, what you guys are currently doing today, within your offering. Where we typically like to shift is more towards systems and technology, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes that's a terrifying topic for people. Sometimes it's like, oh, let's do it. A lot of owners that we talk to say that they're juggling five, six, seven different pieces of systems or pieces of technology in their business. They don't talk to each other. Does that sound familiar to you and how you're operating?
Yeah, I think I'm at the point where that's starting to kind of be the thing that I'm trying to figure out and where I go and what I got to do to get everything work together where I'm not, spending hours
Yep.
on, stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, technology should work for you and work as hard as you do out in the field, and not have you not be needy and have you to have to come back and just put all the puzzle pieces together, right? That's the point of the technology. What systems are you currently using today, or what tools?
Uh, Not many. I mean, I've been just dabbling in stuff, trying to figure out what works with social media, I mean, I just ended up with a different platform. I switched everything to Apple, so I'm learning this platform and what works with
It's new.
Apple, and so I would say I'm on the early stages of that, but trying to get caught up. So
Nice. Nice. I love it. And that's what this podcast is for, is we're trying to help, owners and operators understand technology. So that's really cool. And we'll be able to share some fun ideas with you on what works, what's a good foundational layer. Have you thought about anything, and this is just I was just talking to another customer, but I'm curious, like invoicing, when you're getting jobs, when you're scheduling jobs, are we doing that all manually today? Are we in, or are we bidding manually today? What does that process look like?
Most of our, like our bidding now is pretty much through a company that we use that's we pretty much everything we email our customers now, their quotes, their email, their invoicing, stuff like that. So um most of everything we do is online because I don't like leaving. I used to go to job sites and look at stuff, and then I would draw it out. And my father always taught me to do this really nice drawing and stuff like that, where guys
Mhm.
would just write out, blurbs, and you'd look at it and go, I don't even know what they're doing.
Sure.
So we spent more time on that, and you'd leave the estimate, and then the guy
Mhm.
behind you all of a sudden would show up, and he would take your estimate from you. So we would we started doing everything by email. And so we'll email them the quote and then we follow up behind it to make sure that they received it so it's not missing. And to me, I think it's because of that we have pictures, everything. So people see what we're talking about, not just, a couple words.
Sure. And do you use a software solution for that? Excuse me.
Yeah, it's called ArcSight.
Okay. Perfect. No, there's so many out there. We work with a couple of different main big partners in the space in terms of software. But that's great. I'm glad that's something that you've adopted. It's so important, I think, to have the bidding, the invoicing, the customer communication in one channel. I think it's important.
Well, with us, a long time ago, I looked at a lot of different platforms and it was hard for us because most of those platforms were gauged towards like roofing or construction, and it really didn't, they had all these tools, but none of them were really meant for what I do. And this platform, they've, dealt with a lot of foundation repair companies and stuff like that, and it works really well. So
Great.
it's made my life a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely can make it a lot easier. It also can make it more complex sometimes. Kind of like what you and Brayden mentioned is there's multiple different softwares or platforms available to us, but not oftentimes do they integrate with one another or communicate to one another. I'm curious if you've experienced anything in that realm of you quote something out, but when you get a go to bid or invoice for it, that it doesn't communicate with the exact invoicing that you did, or kind of some of that cross integration of your technology, what that looks like.
So our estimating software we haven't really integrated that into our billing. Like we use QuickBooks
Mhm.
Online, and we could adapt that into it. We just haven't done that yet because we're trying to our guys normally don't use that software out in the field when they're doing the work. So we a lot of times we have to manipulate the quote and change things because things get added or things get taken off. Um, so it doesn't work really well that way. Eventually, if I can get my guys to understand these systems, then I think I could,
Mhm.
have them out there with tablets. But right now, it's mostly, um, paper things that they still pull out because that's what they like doing. So, I mean, I tried that a long time ago with tablets and it kind of backfired on me. So, um, but I'm hoping that eventually that'll be something we can work into.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. That's technology. You guys are the experts in your field, and technology experts are the experts in their field. And I think that's what's fun about AI in a sense is that it allows a lot of these industries to kind of crossbreed in a sense of what my skills are and what your skills are and bridging that gap between the two. I know you
Mhm.
said you brought in and looked at AI in some aspects, but do you feel that that is something AI is capable of doing?
I mean,
Of
for
bridging the gap between these industries of you guys being the experts in the service industry and being able to kind of bridge these gaps of I guess I'm not I have the question or the thought in my head and this is where I need AI to help me bridge this gap of my thoughts here. Um,
It's
Oh
You
yeah.
get to focus on being what you're good at, which is
Yeah.
going and fixing, going and being, you know, it's an incredible job. And you're not a foreman, but you're an incredible contractor. You get to focus on that. AI can go help you run your business and grow your business on the back end, right? And the office side of the business, AI is an incredible solution for that. So you get to focus on what you're good at. You don't need to go in and get a degree in technology, right? You don't need to go learn
Right.
how to code or implement new software. AI can do a lot of the automation for you, right? And so, do you see an opportunity there? It sounds like you started to play with those things. I'm curious what your experience has been, how you feel about AI, whether it's just ChatGPT or anything else. I'm curious what you've experienced, how you've dipped your toes.
Um, well, honestly, it's only been in the last probably week that I've finally actually had some time to sit down and, play with it a little bit. So,
I love that.
um,
That's awesome. Hey, it's never too late. That's awesome.
no, and it's really coming down to, yeah, I do think there's a lot of um, good things that can, help us grow the company. Um, even just by um, how you present yourself, instead of just putting a mass, mailer out there that, on social media that, makes you sound stupid, or, how you present yourself. So that's, I mean, there's so many things that I'm sure it could help us with.
Yep.
Just haven't got to that point of, knowing what that is.
That is the biggest struggle when it comes to businesses that are looking to adopt AI. And I use this saying AI is no longer a nice to have it, so we got to have it, right? It's too accessible, it's too available to everybody, and it's not
Hmm.
going anywhere. It's growing so fast and it does so much for us. The problem with business owners, or the problem business owners have, is where do I adopt this stuff, right? I'm a contractor, right? Like
Right.
I run an awesome growing business and I create, I have a very quality product. I'm not a technology expert, right? Some of our other customers, right? They run big HVAC companies. They're very good at running HVAC companies. They're not very good at technology. So how do you adopt it, right? And so that's really where we're starting to see some, thought leadership. That's part of what this podcast is about, is so that we can start to share where we're seeing, awesome growth, and awesome automation. Our goal is to free you up to operate your business with technology. And not make technology, we don't want you to be a slave to technology. We want it to work as hard as you do when you're in the field, right?
So
That
like
makes sense.
AI, yeah, I
But
mean, does AI really, like, what does that all help with, like, sales wise? Is that
yeah, no, it's really cool. There's so many different ways, and there's something that we kind of talk about, which is a revenue optimization system, which is how can we drive qualified jobs and to book with you automatically, right? For bidding, whether it's
Mm,
can we drive people to your site through whether it's social media or email marketing, or whatever, it's adjusting your brand through SEO and on your website. Can we drive the right traffic to your site so that you can spend time growing your business and growing your, and getting jobs? Can we automatically schedule out, once we do get a bid and we have a job, can we automatically schedule out all of the labor, right? Or the parts and equipment? Can we make sure every foreman has what they need on their trucks? Can we invoice automatically, right? There's everything throughout your customer journey. If you're using some, specific tools, we can
sure.
automate it, which is, and it's almost hard to believe. It's almost hard to believe until you've seen it done. So what
Hmm.
we do, and what the best companies do, is you identify the lowest hanging fruit. Where are we spending too much time doing manual work, repetitive work in the office that we just want to get rid of? We can automate it, right? So we'll start with the low hanging fruit. A lot of it's customer service, right? Or scheduling. That's stuff that's mundane, it's repetitive. AI supplements, a lot of that. That's where our customers see a ton of value.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
cool. And that's
Yeah.
something too, right? Like it changes, vertical by vertical, right? Some HVAC companies, they want to sell HVAC systems, right? You aren't selling systems. Maybe it's for you. You want to get qualified jobs. You want to get the right type of job, right? So it's these more complex structural jobs. So how can we drive people searching for these types of things to your site more effectively? There's just so much you can do. It's pretty cool.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I'm curious, thinking about your future with, Mudjackers, what have you started thinking about what the next phase looks like? Is it growth? Is it succession? Is it a sell? What are you thinking about when it comes to the future of your business?
Um, I would like to eventually, I want it to grow. I want to get bigger. I want to get to the point where, we might be, something that a company would want to acquire, and have this continue. So,
Hmm.
there's been chats, before with other companies, to um, partner with us and stuff like that. It just hasn't happened yet. I think I need to get us to the next level to be more competitive for that. So,
Cool. But that's ideally, right? I mean, you build
mhm.
a lot of times people say you don't build a business to keep building it forever. You build it to sell it, right? And
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's
I mean,
great.
I just want to be able to, have this company continue, not
I
just,
love it.
when I retire, then it's done. I'd
I
rather
love it.
see. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's yeah, it's funny. We work with a lot of owners, founders. We talk to a lot of them, and that dream and that vision is so different. You know, some their kids want to take over their kids are already starting to kick them out of the office. Say, "Dad, go away." Some of them are looking to sell it. It's really cool to see. You know, I applaud you for you've been in the space a long time. You know, you've kind of had this family legacy. Your dad started this thing or bought it. You take it over. I think it's a really cool story. And we're excited to continue to watch it grow.
Yeah, let's hoping things keep on going the way they're going. I mean, we're growing. I mean, I would say we're doing more. We're busier. Um, we used to do like snow plowing and stuff like that. We got out of that just
Yeah,
because we don't need to do that anymore. And so we're trying to just get this to grow more and more where we can get to the next level. So,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got the the future vision kind of nailed down for what you're wanting, and part of that is looking out over the next 3 to 5 years. And so I'm curious, part of that vision that you have for uh, what you have coming up is over the next 3 to 5 years. What do the top performing companies in your guys' industry, what things will they be doing differently now from what they're doing today, such as yourself?
well, I think there's always, especially for us, it's, more and more innovation to the products you offer. Um, and that's where, some of the stuff that we're doing, there's not a lot of companies that do it in our area. Some try to do it. They don't do it very well because they try to do it too fast. So, ours is, I want it. I watch companies that come in, and they're nationwide firms, but they, promote that, they can do all these things, but then when their guys show up, they're really not trained and
Mhm.
they struggle. And to me, I want to be able to grow our company, but be successful at it. And when you look at people's reviews and stuff like that. Ours, there's just, and we don't try to, skew our reviews or anything like that. It's, I would say 99% of our customers that put reviews in, they're, not only happy with what the job outcome was, but it's also our guys that were representing us in the field. And, they just really had a great interaction with them. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
fine line between being able to offer that high quality product and still being quick at the job and getting it done. It's a
mhm,
it's a hard balance, right?
Efficiency
it
and quality
is.
are a very tough balance to strike. Yep, that's incredible. And I think we're seeing that too with consumers and with customers, with homeowners, right? We have this weird thing inside us because we're spoiled nowadays where we want instant gratification, but we also demand quality. We demand personalization. We want, people to treat us so well. It's a little bit of a sensitive generation coming up nowadays. But yet we want it everything quick. It's really a difficult balance for a business owner. And how do you keep your finger on the pulse of how your employees, how your foremen are, you know, making your customers feel and how are they completing the job, but also how do you still spend time growing your business? So it's very tough balance. I think that's really applicable.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
curious.
it is.
I'm curious if you go back, you've been in this, you said 25 years you've been in the industry?
Well, I'm 53 now, so ever since uh, I was on the books at 16,
Wow. Amazing.
but yet,
That's awesome.
full time, I would say by the time I was 19 or something like that. I had been on the cruise. My dad always, he had us out since I was like 12 years old, just being the little grunt on the job, just helping out, free labor, So,
Yep.
uh, by the time I was 18, I became a foreman because we had a foreman and a salesman that was doing work. They would go and do work for us, and then the salesman was going back and re-quoting jobs for himself. And we caught him, and it was either, get him arrested or for embezzlement, or we just let him all go. And so that day, my father had a crew that he needed to get the work done, and I told him, I said, let me do it. And he was real hesitant at first, and he just didn't know what to do. And I said, just, I already know how to drive the dump trucks. I knew all the equipment. I watched these guys do the work, and I always paid attention. So I just said, let me do this. I can do this. And so gave me a couple small jobs to do, and I took the crew, went and did those. I had them done before even noon, came back, grabbed the rest of the work, went and finished that work, and then went and helped the other crew finish their jobs. And he realized that day that I had been paying attention,
There you go.
and you just realized he could make a whole lot more money on cheaper scale labor for me.
That's a
So,
blessing and a curse for you. You're really good at it, but he's not going to pay you very much because he's
no.
your dad, and yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome. Well, I'm curious if you go back to that younger self, right, and you're getting ready to take over the family business. I think it's an incredible story. This is the cheesy question, and where I'll be done asking you questions. But what piece of advice would you give your younger self before you're taking over the business, before you're attempting to scale? What would that be?
Um, I always, even the guys, I tell them, there's, um, well, one, know your worth. Two, um, never think you know everything, because there's always something to learn, and always be open-minded, because I think most people fail when they aren't open-minded. Um, they're too close-minded and they think nothing should change and nothing is ever going to change. And that's not true. So, you have to be willing to change and look for new opportunities. But, um, I would say probably for myself, things I could have done different, probably, uh, maybe pay attention more in school,
Yeah,
and not think that, there's a lot of things to learn. So but,
I love it.
I would, a lot of it's just, not being just a sheeple, even though it's a small job, you can learn a lot of things from people.
Hmm.
So,
I love it. No, that's awesome. I think that's powerful, for sure. And it's never stop learning. Never think you know everything, right? I think is a huge piece of advice, and it's something I tell myself. I tell my son that same thing. And so I think that's powerful. I love it. This has been awesome, Chris. I think a lot of owners will resonate with what you shared. Especially, those listening, where I think the theme is, how do we balance quality but still grow our business, right? How do we
right,
differentiate ourselves with quality, but still how, then we have to be in the office. We want to be talking to customers. We want to interact with them, our homeowners, but we still have a business to run. And so finding that balance, I think, is really applicable. I think technology is so necessary. I think the theme of how do we adopt it? Where is there low hanging fruit to adopt technology? How can we get technology to work together and work for us, opposed to the other way around, where we feel like we have to manage it all the time?
right,
And then really focusing and finding a niche within your vertical, which is, you could be doing these cheaper jobs, but you're focusing on quality, complex, structural jobs, and that's where you're really finding value. I think that's important, instead of running at everything. It's being very focused within your business. And I really appreciate the openness. This is exactly the type of candid that we want to surface, and I think a lot of owners are going to resonate with. So I appreciate your time today.
thank you.